Hi there! I'm going to show you how I made my viral animation meme in Clip Studio Paint. I'll go through the initial idea, the storyboard process, the technical stuff related to CSP, and my final layer structure. I was mostly inspired by these two videos, and I thought I could totally see Vox doing this. Vox is a diva, and you can't convince me otherwise. Notice that both of these have a story element to it. I think that makes the video more engaging and rewatchable, so I want to do that too. I am obsessed with radio static, so I have to make everything about them. So after sleeping on it, I came up with the story that Alistair pushed Vox off a cliff, Vox drags Alistair down with him, and they're saved by, let's say, Shockwave. It totally lines up with season 2. Of course, I start the sketch of this animation in the middle of another animation. That's just how my attention span works now. So I copy-pasted these little poses to a new canvas and tested out a few more poses until I am happy with what I have. Next, and this is very, very important, draw a very rough sketch to test out the spacing and timing. There's no trust the process in animation. If your spacing and timing is garbage, no fancy color and lighting is gonna save it. It's just gonna be fancy garbage. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience. There are some bad timing in my animation that is unsalvageable because I did not fix it initially. So look at your sketchy animation, then look at it again, go eat dinner and come back to look at it again with fresh new eyes, and fix anything that stands out. This is the time to do trial and error since everything can be redrawn quickly. The timing and spacing was easy for this project because this is an animation meme, so most of the work is already done for me. My job here is just to figure out how to squeeze Alistair pushes Vox off a cliff into the 3 seconds I have in the beginning. Oh, and one more thing. Line up big movements with the beat of the music. For example, each pose change here lines up with a spike in the music graph. So Clip Studio Paint actually have a little graph that represents the volume of the music. So you really just have to line up your key changes with each spike in the graph. Now the technical stuff. I'm going to show you guys the difference between frame by frame and keyframe animation. So I'm just going to use this little section as an example here. So let me set this as the start frame, and let me set this as the end frame. So now we're just working with this short little section here. So as you can see, the frame by frame is already done. That's this part right here. Yeah, it's pretty basic. I just warped it. I just used edit, transform, and then mesh transformation to slightly bend it. But now let's see how it's done with keyframes. So to enable keyframe, select the animation folder that you want, and then click on enable keyframe, and then click on add keyframe. Ideally, you want to use a smooth interpolation. That's the slow in, slow out, natural look that you tend to want. So once I add that, and let me see. So this one is A, B, C, A, B, C. Okay, so let's do the same here. So let's add one for B and then one for C. The rest I can kind of just copy and paste. So it should be good here. So A, we don't need to change anything about A. A is perfect. And for B, we want to rotate it towards each other. How do I do that? So select operation, select object, and then click on the object. You might think, wait, nothing's happening. Well, let's zoom out. This is just kind of how CSP works. Let me just go... Why is it going to folder 5? There we go. The frame of the object is all the way out here. Ridiculous, I know. So this is the center of the rotation. So right now, if I rotate it, doesn't make any sense. It just goes all over the place. So we want to move the center of rotation all the way here. About there. So now if I rotate it towards each other, it's gonna look a lot nicer. Oh, and we also want to change the center of rotation of pose A because otherwise it's gonna look weird because the center of rotation is also keyframed. So if you don't move that, you see between frames the center of rotation keeps changing. And that's gonna give you a wobbly result. Okay, nice, and I'm just gonna do the same thing for C. Okay, perfect. So now I just have to copy paste the keyframes. I mean, I haven't figured out if there's a shortcut, but how I've been doing it is just clicking on copy. Well, I already copied, that's why it's grayed out. And then click on paste. Yeah, just doing Control C and Control V doesn't work because that would just copy the actual art instead of the keyframe. But I did figure out that I can select multiple keyframes, copy, and then paste. So it's not that bad. Okay, so let's play it back to see the difference. There we go. So now let's just do the same thing for the straight one. Okay, there we go. So let me play the video so that you guys can see the difference. My apologies, I slightly messed up my keyframe order. I was doing A, B, C, A, B, C, but really I should do A, B, C, B, A, B, C, B, A, because it's like back and forth, back and forth. Okay, there we go, I fixed it. Just gonna play it for you. So that's the difference between frame by frame and keyframe. The frame by frame is animated on 2s, so it's a bit laggy, I don't know how to say it. But it's a bit slow, where the keyframe version looks super smooth. And this is what it looks like zoomed out. I don't know, maybe in hindsight I should have just used keyframe for this. Because the keyframe version actually looks pretty good. But anyway, video's already posted. So following that same logic, every body part that I want moving is either keyframed or drawn frame by frame. So all the arms and leg are keyframed. Here they are. His coattail and his antennae are frame by frame. Right here. So it's that 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. And here we got that 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, coattail actually have 4 frames because it's a bit of a more complicated shape. So that gets 4 frames.
You're welcome.
And arms and legs are just simple keyframes to spin it. So if I just do this, as you can see, this leg right here spins as it goes. This leg right here, wait, not this leg, this leg. Yeah, this leg right here, wait, what? Huh, I think the center of the turn here is a bit messed up. Why is it all the way here? I think I actually messed up the center of the turn here. Like, why is it moving? Whatever, the end results worked. As long as it looks good in the end. The point is, when I animate this leg, I try to make both the upper leg and the lower leg move at the same time. Because if the upper leg stays in one place and only the lower leg moves, that kind of feels unnatural because that's not how normal human or like normal demons move. One thing to remember for this animation meme specifically is that make sure all your arms and legs don't move in the same direction. So if all your arms and legs moves clockwise or counterclockwise, your character is going to look like a pinwheel. And we don't want that. Do we? We don't, right? So when I designed my movements, I made sure there's at least one arm or one leg that is not moving with the others. So this one has kind of have 2, so these 2 are moving towards each other. For this one, the legs are moving counterclockwise, but the hand is kind of just shaking around. This one, only this arm is going counterclockwise. The legs, the arms, they're all going clockwise. And for this one leg and one arm is going counterclockwise. The other leg and arm are going clockwise. Oh yes, so I also want to explain my layer structure a little bit. So in Clip Studio Paint, there are animation folders. And inside each animation folder, there are animation cells. So each of these horizontal lines is a animation folder. So for example, here I have a animation folder that just contains the leg. And the animation folder is what you can keyframe. And here what I have set up might look very familiar to you if you do a lot of digital art. So at the bottom here, I have a background color. I have some cloud, some more cloud, whatever this is. Oh, that's the circle. That's more circle because I want new circles to start before the old circle animation end, and I don't want to combine animation and all that. So I just made 2 folders for it to alternate between them. Basically, it's like creating a new layer whenever you need a new part in regular drawing. So now you might ask, okay, so in each animation cell, how do I have separate layers for line art and a separate layer for color and all that? Okay, so let me do an example. So let's create just a new animation folder. Right here, boom, new animation folder. And if I just create a new animation cell, that would be a new frame right here. As you can see, this is just one layer, right? If I draw on it, it's just like one single layer. You can turn it on, turn it off. So let's say this is my line art and I want to color it and I want to have a separate layer for the color. We can just create a new folder, boom, and we can put that into that. So now we have another frame. But in this frame, I can add a new layer, and now this layer is just part of frame 2. And I can add color in here. Let's do red. Sure. Okay, red is not very obvious in this context, so let's do this. So now I can color under blue, and these 2 will move together always. If I grab animation cell named 2, actually hit the folder, everything under it will move. So if I add a keyframe for cell 2, then everything in this keyframe will move. So now we have a keyframe of this folder zooming. So following that logic, let me show you my colors. Let me find a big thick one that has a lot of coloring. Okay guys, I found a good one. So this is the second frame, or actually it's the 4th frame, because I later added 2 frames for Alistair to move his arm. So in this frame, there are actually 5 active layers. There's 1 layer for Vox's line art. There is 1 layer for Alistair's line art. There is 1 layer for Vox's color. There's 1 layer for... I don't even know what this is. Probably something super small that I can't even see it. Oh yeah, it's for Alistair's monocle. Yep, that gets its own layer. Don't ask me why. And then 1 layer for Alistair's color. So my frames, if I turn off the keyframe so you can actually see the frames. So my frames are usually just 1 folder with 2 layers. Pose 1 is kind of cooked. But starting from pose 2, we got the color fill and we got the line art. Oh, and did I tell you about how amazing CSP's vector layers are? Let me show you. So first of all, you can use any pen you want in this vector layer. You could just create it using this button here, new vector layer, and you can just draw anything. If you mess up the line art, let's say, oh my god, I want this to be a better curve. Well, then you can just go to this tool right here and you can see a bunch of control points and you can move them around to get your perfect line. And you may think, wow, there are so many control points. Well, you can delete them. You can just delete half of them to make it easier to move your lines. And you can also adjust the line width with this. Boom, extra thick. It's just really amazing, okay? And oh, there's also switch corner. You can make any point into a square corner, because if you don't make it into a corner, it's gonna be round. If you make it into a corner, it's gonna be pointy. I mean, the difference is not that obvious, but there is a difference. And yeah, it also kind of works with liquify. This is the liquify. It kind of works. I mean, it's not perfect, but god, I love this function so much. As somebody who mess up her line art literally all the time, like when I try to draw Vox eye, it's never perfect. And I always have to just go here, move control point, and just... Actually, no, for this, it's actually better to pinch it. Like, do that. Oh yes, and how can I forget one of the more important things? So you got all your poses, your arms move, very nice. So how do you make it bounce? How do you make him like bounce up? So like the entire body should bounce up and then come down. This is done with a 2D camera layer. To create one, you can just right click, new animation layer, and then 2D camera folder. There should be a pop-up, you could call it whatever. And all you have to do is select the animation layer, drag it into your new camera folder. And now if I play it, the legs should not jump with it. This looks so stupid. Yeah, but anyway, so the camera layer kind of explains itself. It's a camera, and you can move the camera by adding keyframes to it. So the keyframe for camera is enabled by default because you can't add any layers in the camera. That doesn't make any sense. So you can, for example, if I add a keyframe here, and I add a keyframe here, and I move this keyframe by a lot, this would make the legs move up. So when I move the camera down, the legs go up because the camera is going down, but the legs are inside this camera, so they will go all the way up to the corner. So if I play this right now, you'll be able to see that. Yeah, the legs is just flying away. But yeah, that's how I did the bounce. Oh, and of course, make sure your backgrounds are not bouncing. So only these folders are inside the camera. So if I collapse the camera, the background, the clouds, they're all in their own layer. They're not inside the camera and not affected by the camera's bouncing. I also want to quickly explain how I made these black circles that moves behind him. So let's start with a vector layer. And then there is a subtool called Ellipse. Normally, it would draw a not perfect circle, but if you hold down Shift while using this tool, it will give you a perfect circle. So once you have a circle like this, go to Objects, select it, Control C, Control V, and then select one side of it, hold down Shift, Alt. This will let you change the size of the circle while keeping the center point the same. So now I can just create a new raster layer, so like a new normal layer, grab a paint bucket, maybe make this layer my reference layer, get the paint bucket and fill. Boom, that's how I do it. And I can just duplicate this layer. I get rid of that raster layer from before. And with the duplicated layer, I could just like change the size again, like Shift, Alt, oops. Click on this, Shift, Alt, make it bigger, and then click on this, hold down Shift, Alt, boom, like that, and then fill it again. So that's how I made this expanding circle right here. There's probably a better way to do it in other software programs, but this is what it is with CSP. Well, that's about it. Make sure you watch the 12 principle of animation before you start animating. It's a very short video and it's very helpful. Don't forget to use vector layers for your line art. Make sure your timing and spacing is correct. That's about it, honestly. Oh, and please enjoy this advertisement for my new Vox merch. Link in bio. Bye!